Hello again, to all my food warriors, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are celebrating La Cucina Povera. This is the peasant food of Italy, typically what you find in the southern regions of the country. Absolutely, very unbelievably simple to make. Very, very few ingredients, which means each ingredient has to be of absolutely phenomenal quality. Very simple preparation, but the outcome in terms of flavor is absolutely fantastic. This is the very definition of simple, humble, rustic Italian country cooking. And today is no exception. Today we are making Italian sausages with lentils and a spicy tomato and roasted pepper sauce. Now I'm telling you, it sounds like something very simple. I'm telling you that the flavor that this packs is absolutely fantastic. We usually make this dish usually around the New Year's time frame, around the first of the year, after we've had a whole holiday period of rich and indulgent food. And we want to get back to something a little bit more wholesome, a little bit more simple, rustic, and of our culture. And this is one of those dishes that we make to really reconnect with what it means to kind of celebrate all that it means to be Italian. And so, with that, without further ado, we're going to start off with our lentils. Now, these are your typical green lentils. What I have here is 500 grams of green lentils in this pot. Again, completely dry, no water, no nothing. I have the last of my 500 grams here on a little dish. And there's a reason why I have them on a dish. Lentils sometimes come with little stones mixed in and around the lentil. So what I always do is I put these on a white dish and I just flatten this out. And sometimes I find, seeds in there that aren't lentils. Sometimes I find little pebbles in there. You can always look to see if there's any disparity in color, but I do this every time I make lentils. I have found enough pebbles in here and enough seeds of other plants that get mixed up in the processing of the lentils, where all of this is obviously done by mechanical means. And so I want to pick those out if I can absolutely find them. And usually the stones are a little bit darker in color, so those will pop out, especially on a white dish. This time I've only found one little seed in one of my earlier screens here, but I've done this for the entire 500 grams of my lentils. So all I've got here, lentils in a saucepan, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some water to this. No salt, very important, no salt. The reason why we don't cook lentils with salt, the salt will toughen the skins, and it will result in a much longer cooking time. And so all we want to do here is good, fresh, cold water, and we want to make sure we cover the lentils by at least a good couple inches. So we want to make sure we have plenty of cold water here in our saucepan. There we are. And all we're going to add to this are 4 bay leaves. That's it. Very, very simple. So we're just going to make sure that we get those bay leaves submerged in the water. And then all we're going to do is we're going to put a lid on this and put it on the heat. Once this comes to the boil, remove the lid, and this should take about 6-7 minutes to cook. So we're just going to get our heat going here under our pot of lentils. Now, you might think lentils are kind of bland. In this preparation, let me tell you, we are going to make lentils all that they can be. With a little bit of careful preparation and some good quality ingredients, the lentils will be one of the stars of the show today, I guarantee you. They will not be fading into the background at all. We will actually elevate these lentils into something of a bit of a superstar in this dish. So what we're now going to do is get started on our sauce. This is our roasted red pepper and tomato sauce for our sausages. So all we're going to do is get some heat under our pan here, and we are going to start off, as most good things do, with an onion, some garlic, and some chili peppers. So all we want to do here is slice our onion, I'd say at a medium fine dice. Nothing too fine, nothing too chunky. Remember, this is a rustic preparation. This is something that you would have found very much in the home in southern Italy, especially in the fall time and certainly early winter, which was the time when every family would slaughter their pig historically. Every family would raise a pig, and that pig would represent sustenance and meat for the year. They would cure some parts, they would use other parts in very traditional preparations, but always they would take whatever was left over, all the trimmings, and mince them up and make sausages with the typical house seasoning. And so we will certainly do that in a later episode here on Cooking with Coach Joe. I haven't had an opportunity yet to make my sausages for the year, but we will. And so look out for that in a future episode. So we're just going to start off 4 or 5 tablespoons of a good quality extra virgin olive oil. We'll let that get a little bit of heat through it, and we will crush our garlic. I got 4 cloves of garlic here as well. We've got 1 good sized white onion. There we are. Just going to give these a little crush. And there we are. So we can see now that our oil is starting to shimmer a little bit. We've got some heat going through our pan. There we are. And we will get all of our onions and garlic in there. We're going to take the heat down a little bit, just down to medium. There we are. We're just going to give this a little pinch of salt and a little pinch of freshly cracked black pepper, and we are going to stir this around. There we are. All right. Now, as this is starting to sweat down, we will get right in there with our chili pepper. And again, we're going seeds and all, as we want the full intensity and the full essence of our chili. There we are. And we will get that into our pan as well. And we're just going to give this a stir and let this hang out for a little bit. There we are. Now, we don't really want to get any color on our onions. We just want these to heat through and become translucent and beautifully sweet. There we are. So now what I have here, this is a 1 pound bag of roasted red peppers. Now, I make these every year. You've seen me do this on the channel before. When the peppers are beautifully, ripe from the farm, I usually get a couple of bushels of peppers and I put them on the barbecue. Now what I do is I just blister the skin, get them beautifully black and blistered. Once that's done, put them into a bowl, cover them with plastic wrap, let them sit for between 30 and 60 minutes. They'll cool down, they'll steam, and then I will just peel that blistered skin right off the pepper. Once I do that, cut them in half, yard out the seeds, and I put them in zip-top freezer bags and put them away in little 1 pound bags, so I've got them all year long. Well, this is one of those 1 pound bags, and so all I'm going to do here, I've defrosted the bag. I've got a little bit of the liquid that leached out of the pepper. I want to keep that in this case. And so all I want to do is take just the flesh of my peppers and put them here on my board. There we are. So we'll just move this off. And all I want to do with this is cut it into a nice fine dice. So cut them into thin strips. There we are. And then what I'll do is I'll just go back the other way. There we are. So move this over, make another nice neat little pile. I'm telling you, there are no substitutes for roasted peppers. You can get those ones that they find in the supermarket in a jar, but just realize those are typically packed with vinegar, and so they will taste a little bit different. In this application, what I'm looking for is a beautifully sweet pepper, where I'm getting the flavor of that beautifully fire roasted bell pepper, ripe from the field, straight from the farm. Doesn't get any better, doesn't get any fresher. There we are. And again, because this is This is symptomatic of La Cucina Povera. There are very few ingredients in this dish, and so every ingredient really must be all that it can be. And I'm telling you, you will taste it in the final product. There we are. So we've got all of our peppers beautifully diced up. I'm just going to see how our onions are doing. Oh, beautifully translucent. Love that. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to add 1 28-ounce tin of crushed plum tomatoes. This is a good organic crushed plum tomato. I will give this a little stir and get some of that moisture moving around our pan. There we are. I'm going to add to that our peppers that we have cut up. There we are. And there we are. I want to get that juice that came out of our peppers as well, and I want to add that in. This again just helps to intensify and reinforce the flavor of our roasted peppers. To that, I have 5 ounces of a dry white wine. This one here happens to be Orvieto. Works very, very well in this application. We're just going to wash out our tin. Make sure we get all of that goodness in there. There we go. Get this guy off to the side, and we will just give this a stir. And now the only thing I'm going to add to this, a little bit of salt and pepper for seasoning, and a little bit of dry oregano right now. I am going to finish it with a little parsley, but that's later on. And so what we want to do, we have 1.5 tablespoons of dry oregano. There we are. We want this to have an opportunity to bloom in the sauce as it cooks, and so we will raise the heat a little bit, give this a stir, a little bit of salt and pepper as well. There we are. And a pinch of freshly cracked black pepper. And we will just give this a stir and allow all of this to come together and for all the flavors to meld as they cook. So we are going to give this a good 12 to 15 minutes, and we will come back to the sauce then. Meanwhile, we'll just let this bubble away and do its thing. Oh, our lentils are coming up to temperature, so we will let those go. We will let this go for another 12 to 15, and in that time our lentils should be close to cooked. So I will see you in about 15 minutes. All right, it's been about 15 minutes. Our sauce is thickening up beautifully. All we want to do is really thicken this up, tighten it up a little bit, and evaporate some of that moisture. We want this to be a nice, beautiful, chunky accompaniment to our sausage and lentils. And I have just tasted our lentils. Our lentils are just about there. So all I'm going to do is put these through a fine mesh sieve, just strain these out, and then I will be back in a couple of minutes. Now the important thing, taste your lentils along the way. Sometimes they may take a little bit, a couple of extra minutes, couple fewer minutes. But what we want is that lentil to be beautifully soft with just a little bit of integrity just in the middle, almost like the al dente equivalent of pasta, but we're talking about lentils here. So we don't want it to be completely creamy and have no texture. We want it just to maintain that little bit of integrity so that it's still soft and we get the beautiful fluffy texture of the lentil, but we still have a little bit to bite through at the end. So I'm just going to drain these off and I will see you in 1 minute. All right, we have strained out our lentils. All we're going to do now is we're just going to look to fish out those bay leaves. I didn't rinse these at all under cold water, not at all. I want the heat and I want all of the goodness that comes with the lentils. There we are, we got 3, and we should have 1 more in here that we will find. There it is. There we are. Definitely don't want to eat these bay leaves. They have done their job. Now our lentils are beautifully hot, beautifully steamy. This is where we transform these guys into one of the real stars of this dish. So I'm just going to make sure that my hands are dry here. First thing I'm going to start to add in here is a good, generous glug of extra virgin olive oil. Now this is a good, strong extra virgin olive oil where you actually taste the olives, you taste the artichokes, the raw artichokes, the freshly cut grass, all of the nuances of a good olive oil. You want that to soak into the lentil. So what we also have here is a couple of good pinches of freshly cracked black pepper and a couple of good pinches of salt here as well. And we will just stir this up. And I'm telling you, as this sits, it just gets better and better and better. And really, we haven't had an opportunity yet to season the lentils, so there's no salt in here as well, other than what we just added. And so that will really bring out the earthiness of the lentil, but it's the olive oil and the black pepper. I'm telling you, it done right, this almost tastes like a steak. As if someone's a vegetarian, get them to try this, and I'm telling you, they will be all over it. As a side dish, this is absolutely fantastic. But we want to make sure that we get all of that earthiness and the essence of the lentils coming out. So we'll just give this a taste. Just a tiny pinch of salt, a little more pepper, and another couple of tablespoons of olive oil. I'm telling you, I've done this 100 times, and every time I make this, it surprises me. Now, lentils are a legume. They are a great source of vegetable protein. However, vegetable protein is largely incomplete, not like what you would find in animal protein. So if you wanted to make this a complete vegetable protein, you would simply combine a legume and a grain. So in this case, something like lentils, for example, and rice would make a complete vegetable protein. I can't get over the transformation. Absolutely fantastic. So we are now going to give our sauce a final stir. The lentils will sit there, and I'm telling you, they will just get better and better as they sit. Our sauce is thickened up beautifully. And so all we're going to do now is we are just going to cut this up. We've got some parsley that we've just washed under cold running water, and we just want to give this a fine dice. And I'm talking stalks and all. The stalks are great. They add a little bit of crunch, and they add a little bit of freshness to this sauce as well. Like I said, very few ingredients, but each ingredient is beautifully fresh or put away at the peak of the season to really add all that it can to this dish. So we are just going to run our knife through this, and then once we add this to our sauce, literally we'll let it go for another 30 seconds or so, and then that will be that. What I'm then going to do, you know what? I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So I will just run my knife through this. Once I add it in, let it go for 30 seconds. I will see you in 1 minute. All right, we are back. As you can see, our sauce is now off the heat. It has thickened beautifully. As we move our spatula across our pan, we can see that there isn't liquid that's moving into that space. And so we know this has thickened up and intensified in flavor. And so what we're going to do is give this a quick taste test before we head to the last step of our dish here. So I will just take our spoon here. We will give this guy a little taste. That's perfect. That needs absolutely nothing. The sweetness of the peppers matches beautifully with that slight acidity from the tomatoes. You have the savoriness from the onions, the garlic, the chilies, and just that little bright point of parsley right at the end. Fantastic. Love that. So we're going to let this just sit here. This will be lukewarm when we eat it. We have some beautiful sausages here. We were out shopping and out at the market, and our butcher had some absolutely beautiful sausages that he had just made. And so we picked up a dozen or so to bring home, and we are going to have them tonight with our dinner. So I am just going to head outside, and yes, some of us do barbecue all year round. It is winter time here where we live, and you know what? As long as it's between freezing and maybe 5 below, it's still barbecue weather as far as I'm concerned. And so we're going to brave the elements. We're going to get these sausages grilled up, and then we go to the plate. So I will see you in about 10 minutes. All right, we are back inside from grilling our beautiful sausages. Absolutely gorgeous. And no, this is not the same platter as I had. These had the raw ones, these have the cooked ones. Food sanitation, very, very important. Very big at Coach Joe's house. So now we go to the plate. First thing we're gonna do, we are gonna go in there with our lentils, and I can feel from my bowl here that our lentils are still beautifully warm. So we're just gonna give these one final mix through. They're beautifully glistening. They've absorbed that olive oil and all of that seasoning. I've made this 100 times and I just can't get over just how good this is. And just how they transform into something that is so much greater than the humble lentil. And so we will start with a couple of good heaping spoons of lentils here. Now what we're going to do is we are just going to, I know this looks a little bit chefy, but you know what? We're gonna make ourselves a little well here in the middle of our plate. And trust me, this is functional as well as aids in the presentation of our dish. There we are. So we've got that beautiful well right in the middle. We're now going to get in there with our sauce that we have reheated. There we are. Oh, beautifully thick, beautifully concentrated. Absolutely gorgeous. There we are. Now we've got a little pool of our sauce, and now we're going to go in there with a sausage. So we will choose one of these guys here, and the way I like to present it is we cut this guy at a bias. There we are. And we have one piece like this and one piece like that. We give this a little bit of height, and visually, oh, absolutely gorgeous. So we'll just get this guy out of here for a sec. Look at that. Look at that. Just the smell is coming off this plate. I mean, just a beautiful flame grilled sausage, spiced beautifully with our lentils and our roasted red pepper and tomato sauce. We're just gonna getting emotional here. We're just gonna go in first bite. It's no wonder that La Cucina Povera of Italy is famous and renowned the world over. The flavors that are coming off this plate, the beautiful earthiness and meatiness of the lentils. You've got that beautiful bright sauce and just a really, really well-made sausage made with care and respect. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Salsicce e lenticchie con salsa rosso piccante. Absolutely fantastic. I do hope you try this. This is really one of those humble dishes that on a day like today, temperatures well below zero. This is one of those dishes that feeds the soul and warms you from the inside out. I do hope you try it. Do like and subscribe if you do find the content useful. And please do share, as that is the point of the channel. Until next time, this is Coach Joe saying I will see you on the next one.